Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the first virtual Dresden Nexus Conference. My colleagues Lars and Marc Wolfram and I would like to welcome you to this year's conference that is virtual.
Hello, a warm welcome also from me. My name is Lars. I'm a professor at the TU Dresden, and I'm also here as the Dean of the Faculty of Environmental Sciences and the chairperson for the School of Civil and Environmental Engineering at the TU Dresden. And within TU Dresden, we experienced an enormous change within the last weeks or months due to Corona. We had to change completely from our teaching formats to a digital format, like we did with the conference. And it was very impressive to see how quickly we could change in this past time. So I very much would welcome if we could also see these dramatic changes in our environmental politics. And I very much hope that this conference is helping us in shaping these environmental politics and making us change. So I'm very curious to see what will happen within the next 3 days with your participation. And here I hand over to Marc.
Thank you, Lars. And also from my side, a good day to everyone. Welcome to the DNC 2020. I'm Marc Wolfram, the director of the Leibniz Institute of Ecological, Urban and Regional Development. So we are a non-research institute, non-university research institute, members of the Leibniz Association, and we are focusing on sustainable urban and regional development and transformation. So the current situation is, of course, very much also a concern that we have in the research agenda. And we're very much looking forward, of course, to this conference in its current digital form and to your participation and engagement with you. So yeah, I look forward.
And I would like to welcome you as the director of the United Nations University Institute for Integrated Management of Material Fluxes and of Resources. The core of our work is the Nexus approach, and therefore we are very happy that it's now already the third conference on the Nexus approach. And this conference was designed the first time in 2015 as a platform to advance the sustainable development agenda, and we wanted to bring actors together, researchers and implementers alike, in order to discuss the Nexus approach. And you might be familiar with the water, food, energy Nexus, and that was the starting point for this discussion. This Nexus is more sector focused, and the previous colleagues, especially also under the director Reza Adakanian, my predecessor, focused on the resource perspective on the Nexus, especially water, soil and waste. And in this year's conference, we want to, together with you, as an ongoing process, advance this discussion and discuss the resource Nexus connected with the conference topic. All the three conferences focus on the Sustainable Development Goals. We have here the image as it's used by the Stockholm Resilience Institute, where you can see the biosphere as the broader scope. Without a biosphere, there is no society, and without a society, there is no economy. I like this this display of the Sustainable Development Goals very much, because it really shows also our dependence on the biosphere. The topics of the first two conferences in 2015 and 2017 were global change, SDGs, Nexus approach, and SDGs and Nexus approach, monitoring and implementing. This year's topic is circular economy in a sustainable society. What is special about this conference? We have actors here that are not only scientists, but they come from different backgrounds, and we work here at the Science Policy Interface. We have many researchers that will present their work, so it's still a scientific conference, but we also have national and international organizations. We have UN entities, we have ministries. We also will be signing a declaration with the minister. We have governmental agencies, also the private sector and civil society. And when it comes to the different disciplines, this is really a true interdisciplinary conference. In the run-up of the conference, we also discussed that there should be also formats between the conferences. And we decided for two parts of activities. Activities with global actors and activities with local actors. The activities with global actors will focus on special issues. We will refer to this especially also in the closing session in journals. Workshops, for example, with the newly founded Your New Water Network that is also connected to the emerging field water research at Technische Universität Dresden as a German excellence university. Projects with you all, and also the United Nations Environmental Management Group that organizes the Nexus Dialogue Series is interested in also organizing events between the conferences. With local actors, we have organized a Science Slam that could not take place as planned due to Corona. It will take place virtually, and you can find this also on our webpage. We also will organize workshops. We have the Nexus Seminar Series, and all three organizers are members of Dresden Concept, a network of research institutes here in Dresden. Over to Marc.
Yeah, thank you. So against this general background of why we're interested in the Nexus and the sustainability agenda, of course, every conference has its specific theme. So as Professor Guenther has outlined, for this year, the overall topic is the circular economy and a sustainable society. If you had a look at our website, you probably also have seen that there is an overarching general question, which is about what concepts does Nexus thinking offer to support the transition towards the circular economy. So maybe I'd like to highlight some challenges that could be guiding and appearing in the discussion throughout these days as we engage with this overarching question. So of course, in the very first place, I think there's a challenge in the heading itself, because if you think about the circular economy concept, then you will certainly recognize that it's far from being a widespread consensus about what it means and what it entails, and in particular, of course, what its relationship to sustainability is. Yes, we do see major policy initiatives, but if we look into the scientific understanding, I think it's quite contentious. And therefore, it's a question indeed if the circular economy is an implicit ingredient or tool for sustainable development, or if it actually carries on with contradictions that also characterize the linear economy. So what does it really contribute to social justice, for instance? What is its take on time and intergenerational equity? If it only prolongs the time that negative environmental impacts can be sustained, it is basically a form of ecological modernization. So these are critical issues, of course, and perhaps the Nexus perspective can contribute to provide more differentiated insights in this regard and shed light on the wider sustainability implications of the circular economy. So that's, of course, a very important overarching aspect. But then if we look at it closer, it's also apparent that the circular economy comes with a major challenge, which is closing loops, which from the basics of physics, we recognize is actually a mission impossible. But we do know, of course, that our steady economic expansion is fueled by resource flows and exchanges, which are cross scales. And even if we would have purely local systems of secondary production, they would still require substantive and continuous input of energy and resources. So the Nexus, of course, it further underlines system openness, and it highlights the coupling between resource flows, energy flows, and also potential rebound effects. And how do we actually define boundaries for closing loops? That might be an interesting and challenging question here. Is there any growth limit also for circularity? And could a nexus perspective perhaps be useful for scoping absolute decoupling within planetary boundaries, as we've just seen in the graph from the Stockholm Resilience Center? Furthermore, if we think about the very strong record of transition studies in dealing with how individual single sector systems are actually very resilient when it comes to incorporating sustainability innovations, and how they resist, of course, sustainable transformation in energy, in water, in waste, in food, and so forth. The question arises, of course, if single sector regimes don't easily change, what if we intend to transform 2 or 3 at once, like in a nexus, which is what we have to do actually. So do resistances add up here, or leverage points? What is the result? Do we face lock-in all the more, or actually transformation acceleration? So what are the really resulting dynamics of multi-regime transformation? That's certainly something that a nexus perspective can help to enlighten. Certainly also the question of messiness when it comes to using a nexus perspective. It quickly reveals the multitude of mismatches that there are in systems, between ecosystems and institutions, for instance, between governance and practices, between cultures and technologies, and so forth. So it shows that there is a real messiness in the world that we have shaped. But that raises, of course, the question, how do we respond to that? Do we strive for consistency to rationalize this, considering the myriad of barriers and obstacles to overcome there? Or do we actually navigate messy systems through clumsy solutions, perhaps, like drawing on complexity theory? So patchworks of strategies and fixes, improvised and durable, held together by shared narratives. That is maybe a question that is put on the table through a nexus perspective. And last but not least, nexus thinking is certainly a transdisciplinary approach. It is widely shared as a boundary object that enables dialogue and shared understanding between actors in private, public sector, between science and society, broadly speaking. And it successfully, therefore, provides a heuristic for guiding empirical analysis, for developing shared system knowledge. But the question is certainly, how does nexus thinking actually explain or possibly predict system behavior? Is the nexus just a dependent variable requiring to draw on some other real theory of change? Or is there scope for genuine nexus theory? And if so, what would be its conceptual and empirical cornerstones? I think this is another challenge that the Nexus Conference has on the agenda. So that agenda for these 3 days rather, is looking quite exciting. And you have the possibility to choose between a variety of formats. The advantage of this digital format is that I can be sure that you have certainly engaged thoroughly with the program, so I don't need to go into any details here very much. But you have seen that there are 5 distinguished keynotes, so today you will be able to enter a Q&A session with Christina Dornack and Brendan Edgerton to discuss about their contributions. Tomorrow you can discuss with Raimund Bleischwitz and Sashako Shima, again in the same format. And on Friday, David Malone will be there for a question and answer session. In between days, you still have the possibility and opportunity to listen to 6 expert statements from a variety of subjects, topics, and corners of the world, from Stefan Bringetzu, Cassandra Chong, Meifeng Chong, Marion Huber-Humer, Charles Kofi-Owusu, and Shyama Ramani. So an interesting and very exciting range of insights there. And of course, you have the sessions, which is the core of any conference. They are focusing on a diverse range of topics, so there, I guess you have made your choices. There are side events that I think Professor Guenther will talk about a bit more in a second. And last but not least, the poster gallery is there to scroll through and view at any time throughout the conference. And last but not least, we have a final event, which is the signing of the DNC declaration. And that is an important link to the local dimension as well, because it's the state of Saxony, one of the 16 German states, of which Dresden is the capital, where we together signed a declaration of the related to the Dresden Nexus Conference with the organizers, with the Dresden University and with University-FLORES. So yeah, hand over.
So we will now share the welcome message from Prime Minister Kretschmer.
In diesem Jahr ist manches anders. Viele Veranstaltungen finden digital statt. Umso mehr freue ich mich darüber, dass auch die Konferenz Nexus dieses Jahr stattfinden kann. Zugegebenermaßen wäre es schöner gewesen, alle treffen sich in der Landeshauptstadt und tauschen sich aus. Corona macht uns leider einen Strich durch die Rechnung. Umso wichtiger ist es, dass sie sich austauschen, dass dieses wichtige Prinzip der Nachhaltigkeit und der Kreislaufwirtschaft auch jetzt wissenschaftlich weiter bearbeitet wird. Ich wünsche Ihnen viel Erfolg, gute Ergebnisse und dass wir uns im nächsten Jahr persönlich treffen.
So I hope you can see my screen again. As Professor Wolfram said, I would like to say a few words related to the side events. As you know, we planned this conference as a real conference with your presence here in the city of Dresden, and it was planned to take place in the German Hygiene Museum. And they organized an exhibition, Future Food, and just for you all, for us all, they developed a video, Future Food. It's in German with subtitles. So take the tour and go to the Hygiene Museum. There will also be the Prisma Award. I have a separate slide on this for 3 papers that will get the award tomorrow. And we have special sessions, and it is important that you have to register for those sessions. One is learning through serious games, play and learn about water, energy, food, land, and climate nexus interactions. This will take place this afternoon. And then after the declaration has been will be signed, there will be a session towards a Nexus knowledge agenda together with the European Commission, DG Research, and the German Environmental Protection Agency, Umweltbundesamt. And we also would like you to contribute to World Environment Day on Friday and to develop a poem for World Environment Day. So the Prisma Sustainability and Policy Award is an award for groundbreaking research focused on the DNC theme of circular economy in a sustainable society. Prisma is the Center for Sustainability and Assessment and Policy at Technische Universität Dresden. And there will be a session tomorrow during the lunch break. And if you are interested, just also go on the webpage of Prisma. And I mentioned that already. If you have time between the sessions, if you just imagine some metaphors related to the conference topic, you can contribute a poem for our live reading on Friday to celebrate World Environment Day. You can decide which style you would like to use, and there is an email address. Send us your poem for World Environment Day before tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central European Standard Time. Over to Lars.
Yeah, from poetry we come to some hard facts, and we do some announcements on the organization of this conference. Throughout the last weeks, our organization team did tremendous work in realizing this conference, and we are really happy and glad that all seems to work and seems to function. So you see some figures here about the conference. We have more than 1,000 participants. We have more than 100 countries involved, and more than 75% of these are from abroad. So that is a very good number to us. And now looking into the organizational aspects, and thanks, moving to the next slide, we have some information about the conference program and the logistics. You heard about the conference program by Marc. something on the logistics. I guess that you all managed to get registered in the virtual sessions, and that you also managed to register for the, and will manage to register for the other sessions. So you have always a chance to look into the pre-recorded keynotes. You have a chance to look into the expert statements and the e-booster gallery. And if you move on, we just look into the way these sessions work. So all sessions are virtual sessions, like the one you just experienced. We have the pre-recorded keynotes, and all the keynote sessions are only meant, just to state that clearly here, as a Q&A session. So that is to questions and answers related to the keynotes. That, in other words, means that you had heard the keynote beforehand, and take the chance to listen to the keynotes. And when we shortly will move on to the session of Christina Dornack, then that is the first Q&A session related to that. You may like to socialize in the way that you join others during lunch break. We have kind of virtual lunch break rooms, knowing that that is not really a replacement for a real lunch break together, but at least you could have a chance to chat there and use the touch chat function of the Zoom conference tool to chat and socialize. Looking to socializing, we come later to some remarks to that. Some things on privacy and on intellectual property rights. We will every now and then take photos within the sessions, and we will announce photos. So in case you have your camera on and working and you don't want to be taken on a photograph, you just have to turn off your camera for the photo. A second point is on the intellectual property rights and copyrights of the authors. We do not allow for any kind of copies or screencasts during the conference or of the provided materials and sessions. In case you want to have a copy or anything like this, please get in contact with us as the organizers, and we try to clarify that issue. Clearly, a virtual conference is completely different to a real conference. We know that, and we do our best to support you in having social interaction. At the bottom line of your tool, you have the chat function, and I just put something into the chat. So you may like to use a chat function to exchange about the running presentations or discussions. You also find there the Q&A functionality where you can put your questions during the Q&A sessions. Additional to that, of course, you may like to use all kinds of social media. To get into contact, we would like to ask you to register with your full name into the seminars and webinars. Browsing through the participant list, I see that most of you did so, some didn't. So please, once you register for the next session, put your full name. Ideally, also put the name of your institution so that you make yourself common and known to the others. Please mute your mic all times you're not talking and you are not asked to talk. And in the very moment when you get the request to talk, you may also start your camera. There's a function that allows that to do so. And that is roughly what we would like to additionally say towards the logistics and the social interaction. We hope very much that you will enjoy the conference and actively participate in the conference using all the tools you have within the next sessions.
So thank you for your understanding, your active participation, and now enjoy the conference.
See you all.
Thanks for joining. Enjoy.